Woo! Woo! Yeah! MMA. MMA. That's what we're martial arts mixed together.
All together. Throw them in a, like I said, throw them in a blender, like we said yesterday, as we welcome you to the People's Pre-Fight Show ahead of UFC 269, the final UFC pay-per-view event of 2021. We get 2 title fights. We got a loaded main card. We got a loaded slate of prelims. We have a lot to talk about, and we're going to do it with all of you because this is your show. That's why it's called the People's Pre-Fight Show. You guys submit the questions. You guys submit the topics, and then we'll respond in kind. And we got a whole crew here today. I am Mike Heck. We got my best friend, the Prince of Positivity, a person that many people feel was robbed of a final slot in the BTL Championship Tournament, Mr. Alexander K. Lee. Hello, AK.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, my best friend. Listen, I'm not gonna say that. I have a lot of respect for Phoenix. I have a lot of respect for Jed. Let's just say though that the stock owners, the people at MMAfighting.com who make the money off all this, they got the matchup they wanted. Let's just put it that way. They got the matchup they wanted. Okay, but I'm looking forward to it just like everybody else.
All right, and not to like rub salt in the wound, but we introduce a man who is going to be in the finals next week. Mr. Jed Meshew taking on Phoenix Carnival. He's been calling for it. He gets his wish. And now he's back with us again for the second day in a row. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great because I am in the finals with BTL, just like I wanted. I got the opponent I wanted. And more importantly, UFC 269 is a banger, and it's about to kick off. So let's go.
That's right. And on the ones and twos, providing the soundtrack, Casey Leiden. What's up, man?
That's me. I'm Casey Leiden. That's my name.
We're in such great spirits here. All right. Get those questions in. Get those thoughts in. What do we got?
All right. Here we go.
Let's get right into it.
First question. Oh, let's go to longtime listener.
Joseph Boza. Ooh, interesting question. We'll start with you on this one, Jed. Is Cody Garbrandt fighting for his UFC job? I know he's going down to flyweight, but he has lost 4 of his last 5. He started 11-0. Is there a chance if he gets bolted by Kai Kara France in the first round tonight, could he be fighting for his job? Is this the last time? Do you think we're at that point with Cody Garbrandt yet?
Nope. He's Cody Garbrandt. The UFC loves him. He was probably rushed to a title shot the first time, and then he won the damn thing. He has always been in the title picture for the last 3 years, even though he's gone on a really horrendous run. And now, if he wins tonight, he's probably just getting a title shot over, Askar Askarov or whoever the hell else will be the next guy at flyweight judiciously. Cody Garbrandt's just going to get it. The rules don't apply to some people, and he happens to be one of those. I think if he loses tonight, there are a lot of really interesting questions about what his career looks like moving forward. But he is not going to get his walk-in papers win, lose, or draw in a couple hours.
Do you think the name's big enough to keep around, AK, even if he just gets destroyed tonight?
Yeah, I think even against Destroyed, which I don't think will happen, by the way. I am picking Kara France to win, but I think it'll be a good competitive fight. I think we'll have Garbrandt lose a decision. That's fine. There's no shame in that. It's a new weight class. I mean, there's a lot of kinks to figure out. He's been out of action for a bit. He fought this year, but he's been out of action for a bit. It just feels like he hasn't had a chance to really settle into this new, Cody Garbrandt that he's saying all the right things about it, but saying it and doing it are 2 different things. So, it'll look bad statistically from a results standpoint if he loses, which again, I do think he will, but I think it'd be a good experience for him, get those rounds in as the flyweight. And I think I'm very optimistic. I think the best is ahead for Garbrandt at 125, but it is unfortunate for him that he had a title fight in the bag last year. Things didn't work out, COVID and other things he's had to deal with. And then it could be until the end of 2023 or even early 2024 before we're talking about, end of 2022, excuse me, or early 2023 before we're talking about him in the title picture again. So, but he's got time. He's got a lot of time.
Casey?
No, he shouldn't. Even if he gets bolted tonight and looks horrible, he shouldn't get cut. He's a quality fighter. He may not be championship level, but he's an exciting as heck fighter, and people like watching him. So Why would he get cut? I have no, unless it's a money thing or behind the scenes, he's just a jerk and someone doesn't like him. But for the actual in-cage performance, he should not be. There's zero reason for him to be released off a loss tonight if he loses.
Of course, he's definitely not going to get released because if he loses, he's going to go fight Manel Cape, and there you go.
Oh, God, that's an awful idea.
Oh wow! Why do you?
Why do you hate Cody Garbrandt?
Why do you hate? Yeah. If he wins, though, if he wins, maybe but obviously the title shot is probably right there.
I think he should get the Cody fight, win or lose. But like Jed said, he's going to get a title shot if he wins. But if he loses, this is what Cody Garbrandt becomes: an exciting fighter that has a name that would be used to put over other fighters, potentially like a Manel Cap, who the hardcores know very well, but some of the casual fans don't really know him that well. So
that's too bad.
That's kind of where you get demoted to, unfortunately. But yes, I think he sticks around, if win or lose. Right, next question. Jed, does the Jed? I don't know, Jed. I might as well let you go first on this one because you are going with Juliana Pena. But is this the biggest upset in the history of MMA? In the history of MMA?
For sure. I think for me that answer has always been, and unless this does happen tonight, has been Sarah over GSP.
Yeah.
And
we wrote a whole article about it.
Yep, sure did. We've probably written a lot on that, actually.
Yeah,
and then,
we have. Yeah.
Bisping over Rockhold is like number 2, but it's a pretty deep gap between 1 and 2. But look, I picked Juliana Pena. I did it on the show yesterday. I did it on our internal picking competition. That is my official position, and I am not here to tell any of you that is smart. I know what I'm doing, and it's not the best decision I've ever made in my life, but it's where I am.
That says a lot. That's saying a lot. Wow.
It really is saying a lot. And yeah, on paper, there's absolutely no reason Juliana Pena wins this fight. So for me, if she does, it will be the biggest upset in the history of the sport. And I'm going to be the guy who called the biggest upset in the history of the sport. So get ready, everybody, because that will be my new moniker on BTL. Not Mr. No Gray Area, the Oracle Jed Meshew.
I need a reaction tweet if this happens. Can you if this happens, can you like film yours just very quickly, like a 10-second, like, I don't know, I told you, or whatever your emotion is after, and just tweet that out. I will retweet that.
Absolutely.
I mean,
real quick, I understand if Pena wins is obviously a monumental upset, but does it have the same, I don't know, like just pop culture impact that say when Holly beat Ronda?
Oh no.
Yeah, so no. Yeah. Or even when Sarah beat GSP. I don't think so. I think maybe between hardcores it's an equal upset, but between like pop culture wise, I just don't think it's there.
Yeah, of course. No, she's on that level of fame, yeah.
That's just a question of what the word biggest means, because
yeah.
Ronda wasn't a big upset outside of it mattered socially. Like that was not a lot of people picked home to beat Ronda that night, and so that wasn't like, I know you did.
Yeah.
So that wasn't like a huge, oh shit, this is super shocking. Like I will be pretty stunned if Juliana Pena makes me the smartest man in MMA.
It's still for me. I mean, it still for me cannot beat Sarah GSP. I get it. As we go further along, as the years go by, people forget like the circumstances of that upset. But like people don't realize how far, and it was a very different time too. Don't get me wrong, very different time for how people could get title shots. I mean, he got it off a reality show.
Yeah.
He got it off The Ultimate Fighter, which just couldn't happen now. Which is wouldn't happen now. But he was so far away, like barely even in the UFC technically when he went on the redemption season of The Ultimate Fighter, and was not even near. I mean, was not even near GSP's class at the time. And GSP had not gone on his dominant run yet, so I mean that's the one knock against it. People want to look back and go like, "Wow, this was before like we knew how invincible he was." But the fact that he was so invincible after tells me that was a quote unquote fluke or a lucky punch, whatever you want to call it, or Matt Serra just having his number that night. So for me, that will almost never be beaten. I don't want to say never because in the sport you never know, something crazy could come along. This would be top 5 easily. But for me, nothing's going to beat Sarah GSP. People really need to have kind of been there. You need to read about all the stuff that's been written, like stuff that Jed and I wrote about it, to understand sort of the context of just how crazy and unlikely that upset is, and how really it can't be replicated.
Yeah, I think unlikely is probably the right word here. Impactful, certainly not. I think both of the other ones that you said, especially Holm and Ronda, is definitely much more impactful. But this would probably be the most unlikely upset in the history of MMA, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. That's why they get in the cage and fight.
Also, because I'm sure somebody is watching this and hitting their head against the wall. I know that statistically this will not be the most unlikely. I think Sokoju versus Little Nog. I think he was like a minus,
crazy,
1,000.
Yeah.
And so, like, I get it mathematically.
Well, combine that with the Arona win, like those back to back is like
the
most
back to back were dope.
Like that's insane. Like that will never happen again. That though, if you put those odds together, it's like no.
Arona and Little Nog were both top 5 at the time, or top 10.
Yes,
around.
And Sokoju was like almost completely unknown.
Sokoju was unknown. Yeah.
Literally,
and then did nothing later. That's what makes those upsets more amazing. Is did nothing after.
he ran into Lyoto Machida. Yeah. Remember? Like,
yeah.
What a moment in MMA, man!
Crazy. Sokoju. That's another one people just forget. People don't know about the Sokoju. If you don't know about
Sokoju,
it's like holy.
Sokoju fought for Ken Shamrock's bare knuckle promotion in September of 2019, and I was honored enough to be in the building when that happened. And Sokoju got knocked out by Mighty Mo, of all people, on that night. So that's, if we're talking falls from grace, I mean, Sokoju's got to be right up there. No disrespect, just it's sports, folks. It's sports.
Shout out Sokoju.
Fun fact: Glover Teixeira was the first guy to beat Sokoju.
I was about to mention that
because Glover Teixeira is 400 years old, and now he's our champion.
Feel good stories.
Dude, that was a tough ass start to his career for Sokoju. He had Teixeira, Corona, and Big Nog in his first 5 fights. Like that is a rough beginning, and he won 2 of them.
It's crazy how he was even those fights were even booked, but. Hey, MMA.
MMA.
Even those fights being booked don't even make sense.
It's a different time. It's a different time.
So different.
All
right.
Oops. Let's go. Maybe get that wrong screen. Wrong screen. Sorry. There we go.
Good to see you, Haywood. Haywood. Can Amanda be the greatest MMA female fighter of all time and not be able to sell a pay-per-view at the same time simultaneously? Seems odd. AK, why don't you weigh in on this? I talked about this on BTL. Go ahead.
Popularity and success are not, like, in combat sports, are not equal. Like, that there's not a direct correlation between them. I mean, you would hope so. I mean, but that's not really how it works. Demetrius Johnson.
Who's the greatest flyweight ever?
Right? I mean, that guy couldn't sell a damn thing, and but
flyweights can never sell. Flyweights have never been able to sell.
Theoretically,
so
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. So again, so the answer is definitely yes. Popularity and success and quality of performances are not the same thing. Unfortunately, this is true in boxing as well. I mean, I guess you would point to Floyd Mayweather now as being undefeated, but it actually took time for Floyd to become a pay-per-view draw. So it's so hard to create a star. And let's look at Conor McGregor now. The guy has not been, let's be honest, not been a great fighter for a while. I know I'm one of the only guys in the rankings who's still ranking him high, so maybe I'm going against myself here. But he's still the biggest name by far. He could lose his next 2 fights and still be the biggest name by far. Like, it wouldn't even be close. People make an argument for Khabib. He's retired now. Definitely obvious answer is yes. I wish it wasn't that way. I wish if you won fights, it means that you become a popular fighter, go throughout history, any combat sport, and it's just not the case. So.
All right. Yeah, and the problem is, I know a lot of people blame the UFC for this, but I blame Amanda Nunes for her lack of star power as well. I really do.
But why are we blaming her if it's something she doesn't care about? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, what are we blaming?
Right. I mean, maybe I should rephrase. I should rephrase this. You shouldn't complain about Amanda Nunes not being a draw, but you can't put all the onus on the UFC. If Amanda doesn't want to put herself out there and do interviews, that's hers. That's her thing. She's not out there complaining that I'm not a big enough star. She's not blaming the UFC for that. She's a pretty private person. She would rather just win fights and knock girls out than be famous. Than be super famous, and that's fine. Good for her.
He certainly could have done a better job. Let's not forget she was the B-side on like 3 pay-per-views that did like over 1 million. I get it. She was the B-side to Rousey, B-side to, Misha Tate and like Brock Lesnar. And so I'm not saying that Nunes was the one who drew those numbers. But when you have that many eyeballs on someone, you have to feel like there's a way you can turn that into like at least some trickle down, some sort of, well, we know people know who she is and have seen her beat up Rousey, beat up Misha Tate and all that, and performing these massive cards. There has to be some marketing get out of her. But I mean, they really killed all that with the she bowed out of a fight, and she bowed out of a fight because she got the sniffles from the sinitis or whatever. That's not what Dana White said, but Dana White's like implied she should have fought through it.
Yeah.
So that was just one moment, and that moment was huge. And again, but like you're saying, like
huge.
it's not entirely their fault, but that one moment really hurt her. But she is not a prepackaged like star. She's definitely not like, oh well, anyone could have made a star out of Amanda Nunes. It's like, no, I think they could have done a better job, but they didn't. They didn't, and she didn't help in some ways.
I think of Amanda Nunes a lot like how Kamaru Usman kind of. I mean, Kamaru Usman's doing a little better now, obviously because he's had rivalries. Amanda Nunes has had no rivalries, and remember Dana White did the whole, just kind of he let the storyline go that Kamaru Usman just doesn't try hard on his way. Like no, he only gave 30% or whatever that lower line was.
He said
so.
That.
I do. It's a 50-50 thing as far as like popularity wise. UFC. Amanda coming up, they didn't do her any favors. And even when she fought Ronda, Amanda was doing all the media. She did everything she was supposed to. It was Ronda that was not doing the media, or not really promoting herself. And I don't know what happened.
Just on fight week though. Just on fight week. That's the thing. She'll do them on fight week, but like 2 weeks before a fight, like if Ariel wants to have her on the show, she won't go on the show, which is a misstep for most fighters. Again, Amanda doesn't care. She just wants to go in there, take care of business, and go home and hang out with her family. But there's a shared reason why Amanda's not this massive star, at least in my opinion. What do you think, Jed?
I disagree with a lot of what's been said. I agree with Casey when he said kind of compared to Kamaru Usman. I think that they share a lot of traits. I'm a little surprised that Usman has become a star because and star is super relative there. I don't think any way you cut this, Amanda Nunes is going to be a star. That's just not in her. Being the best female fighter on the planet, that sure as hell is, and she has proved that time and time again. But I don't really blame the UFC. I mean, like AK said, they gave her chances, right? Like she headlined $2 million pay-per-views, and she could not convert that into a fan base that is interested. And like you've been saying, Mike, I don't think that she cares too much about doing that. But even if she did, I just don't think that she has that in her. This is absolutely no disrespect to Amanda Nunes at all. She is a little weird. She's got like the farm animals, and her and Nina Nunes are very private. And when they are, maybe some of it's just translation, but when she does get on the mic, like Kamaru Usman, she doesn't say stuff she says stuff that to me just sounds awkward, like that she's just not like a person that you want to go get a beer with. And she seems fine with that. And she's not by far, like not the only fighter at all who has this issue, but I don't think the UFC can't make stars in general. They're super bad at it. They just co-opt people who build themselves.
Correct.
So I blanketly blame the UFC for being bad at their jobs, wholesale. But I don't think they could have done anything with Amanda Nunes other than what they've done with her. And just to tie it back to the original question, I don't think anyone here, would debate that Amanda Nunes is the greatest female fighter of all time. I do think you can have a debate about whether being the greatest of all time in a sport, quote unquote, that is actually a spectator sport, should involve star power. Like, I think that's a real conversation. And if that gets in, then obviously this conversation changes, because Nunes probably isn't the greatest female fighter of all time. It probably just is Rousey, if you're factoring in the ability to make people care. But then that changes the dynamics for everybody too. Like, I think at that point, George St. Pierre runs away with it unquestionably. And to me, he's already the best fighter ever. But if we're factoring in star power, he's definitely the best fighter ever.
Agreed.
And I think that is a real conversation. Like, people can differ their opinions, but this is not a meritocratic sport. This is a spectator sport. This is fight sport. And if you want to view greatest as involving your ability to sell and draw, I think that that's that there's an argument for it. I don't think any of us are going to make it, but I think that that's reasonable.
Yep.
Yeah, I had no problem with that.
Good question, Haywood.
Jed.
was.
Jeez, Jed.
Thank you,
What's all
Mr. Jablomi.
What's all this?
Oh, I just got it.
Oh, I gotcha. Gotcha. Got him.
It's to Jablamy. It's to Jablamy.
I'm sorry,
Come on.
to Jablomi. I apologize.
Got
Or
him.
to Jablamy. Or to Jablamy.
Is it? Why are you saying the duh? Maybe the D's just silent, like Django.
Next question.
Next question. This is back to the upsets, biggest upsets in MMA history, UFC history. This is a bit of a spoiler, but people forget this one.
Kevin Jameson
Oh,
here comes.
Wow.
It's a bit of a spoiler, but so cover your. Don't want to. All right. Let's talk about this briefly because we could probably close up 20 minutes on this.
Thoughts on beef with DC and
Oh, we
Cruz?
talked about all of it yesterday, but
Yeah, I know. Yesterday, that was today.
Yeah.
Today's different.
okay. Well, I'll just say I'll go first because I feel pretty. Like I said, I feel pretty comfortable saying like I agree with Cruz's criticisms. I really don't think Cormier is a great commentator, and he needs to do more research for sure. Not just about the fighters themselves, but definitely about the scoring and just some other stuff. DC, but his enthusiasm is great. I think people like that about him. Which sometimes look
Personality of the year. Personality of the year.
And look, I'm not even questioning that pick because for me, one of the big things of watching any sports broadcast is are you having a good time and are the announcers enhancing that experience for you? And if they are, and you like Daniel Cormier and like Joe Rogan, two guys who I've been very critical of, then how can I say you're wrong? If you like those guys and you're enjoying the broadcast more because of them, then that's good. Then they're doing their jobs. So for me, I just like a different kind of guy. And I like to be a little more informed, but I'll never say someone who brings enthusiasm and makes people laugh and like that's a bad thing. Like it might be bad for the education of MMA or what have you, but some people but some people don't care about that. Some people don't care. So why should I judge people and say, oh yeah, you should all care. Everything needs to be like deep analysis and like, no, if you don't like that, then that's fine. You like having fun when you watch sports. That's what sports is supposed to be for. You're supposed to have fun. So again, they're not my cup of tea, but if you like them, you like them. But I really didn't like Cruz bringing it up at a press conference. It was somewhat unprompted, him going specifically after DC, and I didn't like that. And I think if you have an issue with someone, I think if you have an issue with someone, go say it to them first. Say it to them backstage. I don't believe that bringing it in public is helpful. I know it turned into content for them and for us and for Daniel Cormier. So in the end, you'll say, well, it all worked out for everyone. But in general, in life, I'd say whatever sphere you're in, talk to the person face to face. If you have some sort of issue with what they're doing, help them out. Otherwise, why are you bringing it up in public? I don't like that. I thought it was really unprofessional.
My only observation of this whole situation is we've talked about his beef with a fellow coworker 6,000 billion times more than his actual fist fight he's about to have in a couple hours. I think that's amazing. I just think that's how drama moves this sport. Drama, fighting is such a little part about what MMA is. Like, how much have we actually talked about Cruz versus Munoz?
Well, I was saying Munoz in general, a great fighter. I mean, this goes to our question: was it greatness and popularity? If there was based on success, Munoz would be a really well-known fighter. No one knows who he is, and he's very good. Pedro Munoz is great, but I mean, ask your average MMA fan who's Pedro Munoz is. I mean, most of them are like, I don't know. Who's this guy? Yeah, it's not fair. It's not right.
The only thing I want to say on this is that I agree with everything AK said, basically. But Dominick Cruz also sucks in the booth. Very different reason.
Casey, I kind of agree, but get him, Casey.
No, he does. Like Cormier, everything Cruz said about Cormier is right, but Cruz sucks because one, he's the exact antithesis of Cormier. He has no level of enthusiasm. He lives in everything he does is with disdain for what is occurring, and mostly it's if you're not fighting how he would fight, which is very different than how most people fight by definition, then you're doing it wrong. Like I would rather listen to Cormier's wrong enthusiasm, and I don't like it. Like I hate the film call that Cormier became famous for. That was the most obnoxious thing to me. but I would rather listen to somebody who sounds interested in what's happening than somebody who's like, dude, he's not getting the underhook. I don't even know what we're doing here. I just get the underhook. He's not doing it. See, that's why he's losing. He sucks. Like and I'm a curmudgeon. I am not a positive person, and I don't like Cruz on the mic. I don't know how anyone does other than Luke Thomas. Love you, Luke. Congrats on the win last night, buddy.
Dominick Cruz,
Yeah.
best color commentator in the UFC.
That's not true.
Because
but
exactly
I think,
what that. Best color commentator in the UFC, absolutely. Felder is a close second.
I think
I think Felder is better than Cruz because I think Felder meshes well with everybody.
Yeah,
I don't think Cruz
agree.
meshes well with everybody. Cruz has to be with the right play-by-play guy, or he has to be with Rogan. Other than that, he doesn't really fit. He's just, I don't know. Like I actually would prefer a booth with Anik, Rogan, and Cruz over Anik, Rogan, and DC. I think there's just a good blend. I feel like
Cruz.
Rogan and DC try to like one up each other all night, and
It's
I
a
feel
fight
like Cruz,
companion.
like,
It's a fight companion when they're on. It's a podcast. We're just watching.
Yeah.
I don't love it.
Can we just
I don't
bring
love it.
back Brian Stan? He was actually
Yes,
good.
there's the correct answer.
No,
No,
I
Brian
hope
Stan is
Brian-
intelligent.
And he's enjoying his life. I hope he's
Yeah.
enjoying his life somewhere away from MMA. But
Brian
I will say,
Stan.
I
Get
see
away
where
from
Casey's.
MMA.
I see where Casey's coming from. I do think Cruz is. If you're asking who is the best analyst, like breaking stuff down, I do think it is Cruz. But
For
as
sure.
for who makes the most enjoyable to listen to broadcast, it is for me. It is not Cruz. I think obviously he's great at what he does. He's again not one of my favorites. I really don't like anybody apparently. But no, I like Felder. I love Anik Felder. I love our boy B Fitz. I think B Fitz is really good. I know some people, whatever, only like Anik for whatever reason. But I think Fitzgerald does a good job.
Dan Hardy with the
Me too.
breakdown.
I like him. I like him and
that
John
was
Gooden. I know
good.
some people don't like Dan
Yeah.
Hardy either, but
No,
anyway,
they're really good. They're really good.
different strokes. People, different strokes. That's
Cruz,
good. That's
I
what
think
about it.
Cruz would be great. I think Cruz would actually be really good in the Dean Thomas, Trevor Whitman role, where you
Sure.
go
I
to
agree.
him between,
That
you
is
go to him for the
actually
first
what you
30
should-
I
seconds
like that.
between rounds.
I like that.
Oh, Michael.
I don't need
Michael
20
Heck.
minutes of
Great
him
suggestion.
giving, hey,
He's
this
done
is
it again.
bad.
Look, you've done it again.
You win
You've
this
done it
round.
He'd be really good. He'd be really
Point
good.
to Heck.
Yeah. But last thing I'll say on this, I'm not fully convinced that this isn't a work, by the way, between these two guys.
It's not a work. These guys do not plan that far ahead.
I don't buy it. I don't buy
I don't
it.
think
I think there's a
Cruz has ever worked anything in his life. That dude
Right.
has feelings and just says them.
Dom?
yeah. I don't think it's
respect that about
100% a
him.
work, but there's at least 25% of this that's a work. So
Well, DC saw an opportunity, and
of course he did.
well, that's
It's
not
the
a work.
biggest
Then.
video he's put out.
That's not a work. That's just like he saw an opportunity and he just capitalized. That's just
but it's still kind of a work.
that's just smart business.
I think
All right.
DC's working. Cruz is just being Cruz.
Yeah. Try if you're a media member
That's
right
fair.
now. If you're a media member right now, if you're watching and you're like trying to make a living in this sport and try to do something cool, I think every person should try to interview Dominick Cruz at one point because that is fun.
Yes,
It's basically like it's not. I mean, it's fun, but it's also the biggest challenge of your career because Cruz just basically turns every question against you and tries to interview you, and it's really interesting. It keeps you on your toes. No one keeps you on your toes in interviews more than Dominick Cruz does. I will say that.
As far as Dominick Cruz goes, please go to YouTube, type in mixed martial arts Dominick Cruz, and look at my video I did on Dominick Cruz and his dog, Dominick Cruz and his dog. To me, you will really understand who Dominick Cruz is the way he talks about his dog, and just give it a watch. Message me, tell me what you think.
Wow. Okay.
Also, Dojo is a sick name for a dog.
It's like-
That's a very good name. Very
Props
good
to Dominick Cruz is a really good name for a dog.
name.
You know what?
Great dog.
Let's keep on Dominick Cruz's subject, and let's actually talk about the punching part.
Oh yes.
What happens to Dom if he loses today? Could he stick around for only prelim fights? If he wins, where should he go? I don't know. Is he any
Is
different
this a
than
crossroads
Garbrandt?
fight? Are we at a crossroads fight for Cruz?
Nah.
No, we're not there yet.
It depends on him. Like, it depends on if he loses, does he want to keep fighting when he is well and truly out of the title conversation? Because I think a loss today kind of ruins any of that. He could do the legend fight thing. If he loses, I hope he fights Frankie Edgar. That's a fight that should have happened already.
Yeah.
And I would watch that one with some level of interest. But other than that, bantamweight's honestly sort of weird in that there aren't a lot of great legends hanging around and being good. Like, they've mostly gotten real washed. So I maybe move up to 45, but I don't know. It depends what he wants to do. My guess is he if he loses, he might seriously consider retirement.
Mainly due to
Yeah.
his age, which is just
Yeah.
not be. Because, it's funny because we were talking about Dominick Cruz, like, oh, is he done if he loses? Then I just realized the guy has only lost to. I do agree. I thought it was BS stoppage of Henry Cejudo, but whatever. He lost the fight. Henry Cejudo, Cody Garbrandt, and Uriah Faber. That's all he's lost to.
That's
That's
it.
kind of freaking bizarre. The way we kind of he's done, and yet he's
He
only.
should have lost to Dillashaw.
Okay,
True.
either
Yes.
way,
Agree.
Dillashaw is
Agree.
probably is one of the best 35ers in the world, and it was incredibly competitive. I mean, I understand you can say Dillashaw won the fight, but you have to admit that fight was just incredibly competitive and was probably one of the best fights of that year. So I think even in my own mind, I've been overselling how Dominick Cruz is done. I thought he had more
I
losses.
think Cruz
honestly.
is going to win. I think Cruz is going to win tonight.
I've also picked
I
Cruz.
don't know. My issue isn't that the fights he's lost. It's like I don't think Casey Kenny's that good, and Dom really struggled to squeak out a win there. Like Dom's kind of old. Like he's old, especially in context of 135. He has a vast injury history, and I don't know. I think Pedro Munoz is really good, and I think Pedro Munoz is going to kick the crap out of Dominick Cruz's legs, which is an incredibly effective strategy against him. And I don't think Dom's weird, bouncy, herky jerk, bad Keith Jardine stuff is going to work on Pedro Munoz. I could totally be wrong, but I feel really good about Pedro's chances to win this fight.
Yeah, Keith Jardine. He's the best. He's the best Keith Jardine.
Yeah, I do like
Keith Jardine can hit people real hard. Dom just kind of outpoints him.
Yeah, I do like Casey Kenny, so that why that performance wasn't as discouraging to me as it might have been for some people. I actually think Casey Kenny's really good, and was like actually a pretty good style matchup for Cruz. But I will say the injury thing that you bring up, Jed, is actually the big one for me. Like I don't think people realize how easily probably this guy could have retired like years ago, because he had two major knee injuries. He's lost years of his prime, and he got into broadcasting while he was doing that. It would have been very, very easy for Dominick Cruz to say, I'm not going through this anymore. All this rehab, all this building back up, all this wear and tear I already have from wrestling and from MMA. He easily could have retired. He's competing because he loves it, because he still thinks he can make it back to a title shot. Which again, he wins tonight. Who knows? We'll see. 2022 depends what matchups he gets, but it is not out of the realm of possibility he retires with a loss tonight, because again, he could have retired so easily in the past, and maybe this is the tipping point. Maybe this is the moment where and look, this to me would be an MMA retirement. This would be I'm retiring, but like 10 months from now, if we found out he's like, you know what? No, I want to fight Frankie Edgar. None of us would be surprised. There'd be zero surprise. Yes, G. Martinez knows Cruz versus Edgar.
Correct.
The fight to make, and it could still happen. Like I said, these are two guys who want to
Win
fight
or lose,
forever.
tonight.
Yeah, win or lose, they want to fight forever. Like I said, Cruz could retire tonight, and then 10 months from now, be like, oh, I changed my mind. Like Frankie Edgar needs an opponent. Like I kind of like that fight, and you do it at 145. You say screw it. Both guys just don't cut weight. You do catch weight 140, 145. Who cares? Who cares at this point? And I know right now they're leagues apart. Aldo is top 3 right now. Cruz is maybe about to fall out of most people's rankings. I really need to see that fight before both guys retire. This is the WEC closer. Let's really close the chapter on WEC with two of the greatest champions of all time, like facing one another. So fingers crossed that can still happen, but I get it. It does seem far more unlikely these days, but I still want that one.
I would be bummed if Cruz retires and we don't see Cruz versus Edgar or Cruz versus Aldo. I do.
I want to see one of them. Yeah, at least one of them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cruz Edgar, definitely. I think that fight's really fun.
Yeah, I think it's
more
perfect.
Cruz Edgar.
Perfect
More Cruz
match.
Edgar. Yeah.
I understand why it hasn't happened, but oh man, does Ryan Hall bounce back tonight? Casey, go.
Bounce back from what? Bounce back from what?
What? What do you mean?
From what?
What happened? Nothing happened. Yeah.
He's never lost.
Yeah, he never lost. Yeah. People's main event. Casey's main event. That's all that matters to you.
The people's main event.
But does he win? Is he gonna win?
Of course he wins. And poor Derek Minner. He tried. Bless his heart. That's all.
AK, I know you're gonna pick him.
It's a shame we haven't seen Ryan Hall fight since July 2019. I know a bunch of bookings have fallen through. I think he was supposed to fight like Ilia Topuria at some point. I'm pretty sure that fight did not happen. I think if it did happen, I would remember. but it didn't. So I don't remember it, so it didn't. Yeah, I think Ryan Hall will continue his unbeaten run, his inexorable march towards UFC title. And I think he again wins maybe in about 8 seconds, 7-8 seconds tonight. With all respect to Derek, because I respect
Ryan Hall's going to start slow,
yes, and Derek Minner
is
is very good. I respect Derek Minner so much. Where in another man, I'd be like 2 second submission. But I'm giving Derek Minner like 6 or 7 extra seconds because I do think he's that good on the ground. So cannot wait. Joe the Schmo 2001 bounce back. I don't understand the phrasing of your question. Will he win tonight? Yet again, of course he will. He's Ryan Hall. He's the best. So yeah.
Does he bounce? Does he actually bounce back, Jed?
Hey, he's going to beat Derek Minner. Derek Minner's a grappler, and Ryan Hall's a better grappler. But I remember Ilia Topuria beating the ever-loving shit out of Ryan Hall. And he's not bouncing back to title contention. Sorry, Casey. Like, Ryan Hall is fun, and he's an interesting dude, and he wins way more fights than I think he ever should have, and he is going to win tonight, and it'll probably be something weird and cool, or it'll be awful. Those are the two ways that Ryan Hall can win fights. But yeah, bounce back is a relative term.
I'm picking Derek Minner to win.
Yeah. Well, on a serious note, Ryan Hall did break his hand badly in the first round against Topuria. And for a grappler, you break your hand, you're pretty much screwed. I'm not saying he beats Topuria, but there was a serious injury in that fight. So just throwing that out there.
We gotta hire you for Ryan Hall PR, Casey.
Hey, I just say the
Dude,
truth.
I love it.
I like Ryan Hall a lot too. I enjoy speaking with the man, but James Krause being in Derek Minner's corner and doing a full training camp. I want to see Ryan Hall versus Chase Hooper fight at catchweight and see them both do their twisted.
Sure. That'd be fun.
That's a fine fight. I'm okay with
Ryan
that.
Hall would kick the shit out of Chase Hooper.
I don't know who brought this up, but I wish we got to see. I wish the UFC just did more like MMA fighters instead of MMA fighters versus boxers or MMA whatever. Have MMA fighters versus other MMA fighters, but in just single martial arts. Just one martial art. I want to see more fun things like this, like Ryan Hall versus Hooper and whatever that Chael Sonnen's underground grappling thing. Yeah. We just need more Ryan Hall. We need more Chase Hooper in our life. Good Lord. And Chase Hooper had probably the best video ever. The video of the self-defense guy. Good Lord.
Yeah.
UFC needs to get more of him. All right. What else do we got? There were some more questions, people.
Question: if O'Malley gets finished by Paiva, is his career / hype train basically over? No, I don't think so.
Nah.
It's a hit, but I don't think it stops it.
He's said all the right things. People can talk about how annoying he is and some other aspects of his personality and like personal life that are unsavory. That's fine. But his career, the way he handles his career, the way he handles the media and interviews, he has done the perfect job. He bigs himself up. He still promotes other people. He doesn't go like full like Colby Covington and Conor McGregor like crap talking his opponents or other people in his division. He gives credit where credit's due. He will do the delusional like, oh, I didn't lose thing to Marlon Vera, what have you. Blah, blah.
Unless it's Cheeto, he doesn't give Cheeto shit.
And that's something that his fans eat that up. That's him is building his brand, right? His fans are like love when he brings that stuff up. Like, yeah, he's undefeated. Yeah, So he does definitely indulge in some of that hyperbole. But like the whole like I don't care who I fight. I don't care where I am on the card. Kind of shrugged off. People saying like, "Oh, why are you higher on the card than Cruz?" He's like, "I don't know. You figure it out. They put me on. They put me up there to sell pay-per-views. You do the math, right? Like that kind of stuff is excellent. And like, yeah, he could lose to Paiva. Paiva is very good, but it won't. He's so young. Look, we talked about the two guys at the top of the card. We talked about Poirier and Oliveira. How many ups and downs those guys had before they finally reached the level they did. Now, I don't know if O'Malley is as good as they are,
exactly,
or if he'll ever be as good as they are. But man, if you just go back to those guys, and they're very different personalities. But if you go back to those guys, there's many instances where you're like, oh, they lost. Well, there goes the hype train. It's like, no, man. It's like they're young. You don't know where it's going to be. So I think O'Malley could lose and still do all right. Jed, you have something to say?
Yeah. Let him go. Let him off the leash.
Look, I wrote about this morning and for the site about Sean O'Malley specifically. I think Sean O'Malley has a lot of promise. I think he's got a lot of talent. I think he's going to win this fight tonight. And I agree with a lot of what AK was just saying about star power doesn't go away. It kind of doesn't matter. You got it. I have no idea why people like Sean O'Malley, but they do, and that's not going to change. But this fabrication that he's young he is a 27-year-old grown man. Yes, he looks and acts like he is 22. He is not. He is 27, going on 28. And Dustin Poirier and Charles Oliveira at that age, they were ranked in the top 10s of their division and fighting the best in the world. Now, I do not have any problem with what O'Malley has said or with his idea that he wants to fight unranked guys because the pay is the same. This is a business. That is a good business decision. But if this needs to be the last unranked guy he needs to face, if he is good. If he's not, then cool. If he loses this fight, he can go fight the other guys who aren't going to make it there or fringe top 15 guys. But this idea that he's young and has like a whole world ahead of him, he is relatively young in general at 27, but that is not like especially young in this sport. And it is really not young in context of all the other people who mostly, if you are 27, you should be hitting your prime right then and already be in that top 10 consideration if you're going to be a guy who makes a title run, unless you're going to fight a heavyweight. He is at 135. He needs to get the wheels going, or he's just the UFC's Michael Venom Page.
And people love, and Michael Venom Page gets clicks, gets ratings.
That's fine.
So,
that's fine. Like,
I think maybe that's all that matters. Maybe that's all that matters.
Like I said, if he's just going to be a star, but the problem that I have with him almost entirely is that he keeps saying, I'm going to beat Peter Yan and do all this stuff. That's cool. Don't talk about it. Be about it, my man. Like, if you want to do that, don't in the next breath say, I'm going to fight an unranked dude because the pay is the same. It is, but live a consistent line is my sort of thing. I want to see how good he is because I do think that this kid can be exceptionally good. He is offensively potent, the likes of which we haven't seen a lot in that division. But he may or may not be a glass cannon, and we're never going to find it. And I think Garland Pivey is a good fighter, but I don't think this fight makes a ton of sense, and we're just spinning our wheels. And I'd like us to kick the tires and go. Like, let's see what we got, and then we can move forward appropriately afterwards.
They should have booked O'Malley versus Cody Garbrandt. That was the absolute fight to make. 1,000%. But they blew it.
I'm keeping an eye on the prelims, by the way. I'm keeping an eye on. They have not started yet.
Mm-hmm. But there's fighters in the cage, I believe. Marcelo Cachoeira is about to pull off a big fat upset, in my opinion.
Yes.
But,
Do you have money? Because she's a healthy underdog.
She's a huge underdog. She just needs to get out of the first round. If she gets out of the first round, she will win this fight.
Yeah. This is starting. Prelims are starting.
Okay.
Do quick predictions. Fight of the night, performance night. Any big upsets? Shockers tonight.
Co-main
All
event.
Right, what's your upset pick, Casey?
Oh, upset pick. Oh man, you know what? I didn't really go too many upsets actually.
AK, what's your upset pick? Well, Casey,
I mean, Charles Oliveira, I guess. He's the underdog, right? So I guess I'm going to Bronx. I guess he's the underdog somehow.
Respect to you, AK.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with it.
I'm expecting a big knockout from Mr. Jordan Wright.
Oh,
big knockout. That's what I'm expecting.
I
think Andre Muniz is going to look amazing tonight too. I have high expectations for him.
Oh yeah, I think Andre Muniz is going to style on Eric Anders.
Yeah, I think he's a legit dude.
For sure. Fight of the night.
Fight of the night. I'm going France Garbrandt.
I'm going with the main event. It's a cheap whack ass answer, but I really think the main event's going to be competitive.
No, it's gonna be tough to beat. Even if it doesn't go 5 rounds, if it goes like 2, 3, it's going to be exciting for as long as it lasts. Yeah, for sure.
I just don't think that's the case. I don't
think so either.
Out of him.
Yeah,
I think Poirier's just a way better fighter than Chucky Olives.
Casey, can I quickly shout out Derek Coulter, who wants to know what song does Ty Tuivasa walk out to? He walked out to Spice Girls last time. He will walk out to something from Taylor's version, Taylor Swift, the Red Taylor's version. Probably We Are Never Getting Back Together. I'm not exactly sure. If he walks out to the 10-minute long version of All Too Well, that'd be another experience altogether. But he will walk out to Taylor Swift tonight.
Well, once
you should walk out to this jam. Walk out to this jam.
Yes, that's the next challenge. Ariel, get on this. Iconic Wall of Fame stuff. Listen to the song.
Also,
all
shout
right.
out to Tom Tuivasa. What an answer. How many shoeys have you done? How many times has a priest been to church? Brilliant stuff, buddy.
Give him a fight bonus right there.
So bad.
All right. Cachoeira versus Jillian Robertson literally kicking off right now. And we will see you later on at the end of the night. We'll have your post-fight press conference live. Casey and I will come back and recap some of the festivities in between the scrums. And then we'll be back for a live post-fight show after. So for Jed, for Casey, for AK, I'm Mike Heck. We'll see you later on. Enjoy the fights, everybody. Last pay-per-view of the year. See ya.
Happy birthday, AK.
Happy birthday, AK.
It's not my birthday.